Hello students, did you know that some crops grow and die within a few weeks, while others can live for many years? In this lesson, we will learn about 4 main types of crops. The ephemeral crops, which we regard as the fast sprinters of the plant world. The annual crops, biennial crops, and perennial crops. We call them the long distance runners, which can live and produce for many years. Get ready as we dive into the exciting world of plant lifespans, and let's uncover the unique characteristics of ephemerals, annual crops, biennial crops, and perennial crops together. Today, we shall be looking at the topic classification of crops. Emphasis, basis for classifying crops. And our objectives in this lesson cut across 2 areas: to classify crops based on lifespan and explain the classification of crops based on lifespan. To begin with, let's look at the classification of crop plants. There are basically 2 ways for the classification of crops. The first is the classification based on lifespan, what we call life cycle, and the classification of crops based on uses. Let's look at the first one, classification of crops based on lifespan. The first on the list is annual crops. Annual crops are crops that require 1 year to complete their life cycle. Examples include yam, potato, vegetables, rice, maize, sorghum, peanuts, or groundnuts. Secondly, biennial crops. Biennial crops are crops that require 2 years to complete their lifespan. Examples of crops in this category include pineapple, carrot, cabbage, cassava, lettuce, onions, etc. Next, perennial crops. Perennial crops are crops that take more than 2 years to complete their lifespan. Otherwise, they are called permanent crops. Examples include mango, cashew, orange, guava, etc. The next under this classification, we call them ephemeral crops. Ephemeral crops are crops that complete several life cycles in one farming season. It means they can be planted or harvested in 1 year severally. Example of such crop is maize. Now, maize can be planted and harvested at least 3 times in a year. Now, I am convinced that with this, you should be able to classify crops based on lifespan and explain the classification of crops based on lifespan. Now, but before we leave, there's an assignment for every one of us, and that is to mention 3 examples of annual crops and 2 examples of biennial crops, in addition to what we have listed before. Thanks for watching. See you in our next class.